Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. I hope that you are having a blessed day. If you're going to say anything other than that, maybe you're going to say, like, oh, well, my day hasn't been going that well. I'm going to pause before I go into this message. And I want to insert this reminder. Just for one, just to say, like, you're here watching this video, right? So that means that God woke you up this morning. And there are people who didn't make it to see this very day. Take a second and just take a deep breath in and breathe out. What is that? Air. God put air in your lungs. There's someone somewhere right now who's laying on their deathbed and they're praying that God would give them one last breath. Your children are healthy. You woke up healthy. Your spouse is healthy. Family's healthy. You have a roof over your head, clothes on your back. You have food to eat. God has given you provision to take care of your family and then some. There are hundreds and thousands of people right now whose lives have been destroyed in an instant, as we all have seen on social media. And there are people who don't know where their next meal is going to come from. They don't have they don't have a roof over their heads. They don't even know if they're going to even be able to rebuild from the catastrophe that they are experiencing. There is someone right now who is contemplating suicide. It's the truth. People are suffering from mental illnesses. The devil has entered, there's someone or people that the devil has entered into their minds and just caused so much mental chaos, but God has kept your mind in perfect peace. You may feel like that you're losing your mind because of, the chaos that may be going on around you, but God has kept your mind in perfect peace through whatever it is that you're going through, and He's going to continue to keep your mind in perfect peace. I can testify to that. So before I move forward in this message, I want to just take a minute and I want you to speak out loud something that you're thankful that God has done for you today. And I'm gonna start it. So God, I thank you for waking me up, for waking my child up, Lord. Thank you for waking us up in good health, able body, Lord. You kept us and covered us throughout the night, throughout the day. Lord, I thank you for keeping our mind in perfect peace and giving us the peace that surpasses our understanding. So I hope you did that, and I hope that changed your perspective a little bit, shifted your perspective, because you are blessed. You are here today. So I ask that you guys show me a little grace with this message. I've been studying this for about a week, no, maybe 2 weeks. I've been studying this message for about 2 weeks now. God gave me this message 2 weeks ago, and I've been resting. So, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful that God has allowed me to just rest. But even in resting, God has been speaking to me. And this is one of the messages that He has been really pushing me to go ahead and make and share with you all. So the title of the message is When the Replacement from God Arrives, You Will Forget Everything That You Have Lost. Now, before I go into this message, I want you all to expand your mind. Okay, we do not serve a limited God. I don't serve a limited God. I know I serve a big God. You serve a big God. And if you didn't know, now you know. But a lot of the times we don't know how God can, in the different ways that God can show up, is because we limit Him. We're used to how God may have shown up for us in the past, or we just don't expand our minds, or even increasing our faith. So as you listen to this message, I want you to expand your mind. Any revelation that God gives me, I apply it to many different areas in my life. It's never for just one area, one specific area in my life. No, I apply it to many areas. So I want you to just be mindful of that while you're listening to this message. So the message today is going to come from 1 Samuel, starting at chapter 8 and going to chapter 13. Now, I'm not going to read all of these chapters, but I am going to pull the message that God gave me. I'm going to pull out of these chapters. So I'm going to be starting at chapter 8, 1 Samuel chapter 8, starting at Verse 7. Now, up until this point, Samuel, who was a prophet, and he was the judge over the Israelites. He had become old in age, and he put his sons in charge to judge over Israel. His sons Joel and Abiah, and his sons were they were not leading the way that Samuel had been leading the Israelites. They were corrupt, doing corrupt things, and very perverse leaders. And so the Israelites, they went to Samuel and they complained that they no longer wanted his sons to judge over them, and they demanded that Samuel would appoint them a king. And Samuel was offended when they came to him because, he had been leading them this entire time. Like, he was a very well respected and known prophet, and he had been leading them for quite some time. So that's where I'm picking up at in verse 7. It says, "And the Lord said unto Samuel, listen unto the voice of the people and all that they say unto you. For they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them, according to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods, so they do also unto me." And I'm going to jump down to verse 11. And it says, so this is after God told Samuel to go ahead and give them what they're asking for. So it says, "And he said, this is the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots and to be his horsemen. And some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him captains over thousands and captains over fifties, and will set them to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war and instruments of his chariots. And he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers. He will take your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. And he will take the tenth of your seed and of your vineyards, and give to his officers and to his servants. And he will take your men servants and your maid servants and your goodliest young men and your donkeys, and put them to work. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and he shall be his servants. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which ye have chosen for you, and the Lord will not hear you in that day." Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, "No, but we will have a king over us. But we also may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us, and go out before us, and fight our battles." And Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he rehearsed them in the ears of the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, "Listen unto their voice, and make them a king." And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, "Go ye every man unto his city." God had Samuel to warn the children of Israel of what was to come if they kept asking for this king. Samuel warned them, like, hey, this king that you are asking for, that you're going to get, he's not for the people. Like, he's going to work you, your kids, your grandkids, your grandmama, your servants, your donkeys, your livestock. He's going to work all of y'all like slaves. Like, he's not, they warn him that he's going to tax you all. He's going to take all of your money, your properties. He's going to take ownerships of your land, things that were inherited to you, things that you inherited when you all came into this land. Samuel warned the children of Israel of all of this to come. And to make matters worse, at the end of Samuel saying all of this, he said, and God is not going to come and save you when you cry out of all the affliction that this king of yours is going to put on you all, because it's going to happen. And when it happens, God is not going to be there to save you. And after saying all that, what did the children of Israel say? Nah, we still want a king. So, and this just came to my mind, like the children of Israel were just disobedient, and from my perspective they were just ungrateful and spoiled. And the fact that they came out of an oppressing um circumstances, they were, it had been years later when they were delivered from Pharaoh. But I think it's just a mindset. They've been through so much. They were in oppression for so long, um, that was just a mindset to them. Like they were privy. God gave them privy to everything that was going to go wrong with this leader that they were asking for, and they did not heed to it. But instead, they said, "We still want this king." So I want to reflect on that. How many times have we behaved like the children of Israel? Like, let's be real. Let's be honest here. God, it may be something that we really want, and we've been praying to God for. We've been praying to God about. And God is like, hold on, like, pump your brakes. Like, no, that's not what I have for you. Like, I have something else for you. And you just keep pressing the issue, and you like, but Lord, like, I want this. If you anything like me, like when I see something that I want, like I know it's attainable, like I already have it in my mind, like, how I can attain it. I'm thinking out of my own strength. I think that I know what's best for me, right? And I'm like, man, like, Lord, I really want this. Like, why can't I have this? And then he starts to reveal to you why he does not want you to have it, because he sees what it will lead to in the long run. But you become so blinded by your wants that you ignore all of the red flags, all of the signs that God is giving you as to why he doesn't want you to have something. We get blinded by what we see on the outside, like the outward appearance. And this is where I want you to expand your mind. Say, for instance, there's a promotion at your job where you will have the opportunity to, take a high leadership role. But what you don't know when you take that leadership role is that you won't have time anymore. Like, you're going to be so consumed with that job that you won't have time to spend with your family. It could cause so much mental chaos and stress, like something you just don't want to have to deal with, like something that's just not worth it, just to have that type of role, to sit in that type of role. Or you may see a job that you want to apply for, that has a higher pay increase, and you're thinking about all the zeros that you're going to see in your bank account, but you don't know how to manage money properly. So that could be your downfall. You don't know how to manage money properly. Or it could be a house. Say you want to purchase a home, and you find this house and you're like, this is perfect for me and my family. This is my dream home. I want it so bad. And you've got the money for it. You've talked to the owners, and they're willing to, everything just seems so perfect. The owners are willing to work with you. The lenders are going to work with you. And God is like, nope, that's not the house. That's not for you. And you're like, but why? Like, this is everything I ever wanted. It's because you're looking at the outside appearance, but you don't have any clue that the foundation of this home is, that is shaky, that is not built on a stable foundation. And in the next 3 to 5 years, the house is going to collapse, come crumbling down. Yes, I know there's insurance and all those other things, but I'm just using this as an example. And there are times, like I said, we become so blinded by our wants and our desires that we don't heed to God's warnings. And God will allow certain things to happen. And if we're not careful, you will believe, because you were able to obtain what it is that you wanted and desire so bad, you will think that it's God's will. It's his permissive will, but it's not his perfect will. His permissive will, he will allow certain things to happen, and it may or may not work out the way that you thought, but it's going to ultimately lead to his perfect will. So you want to make sure that you are in God's perfect will. Okay? And what that look like is when God shows you something is that you are acceptant to what he's showing you. And that you may not, it may hurt and you may not even understand why he's telling you no, but just know God knows what's best for us. God knows what's best for us, and he knows what we want. He knows what we want, what we desire, and he will fulfill those desires. What I have learned is to ask God to allow my wants and my desires to align with his will for my life. I wonder how differently things would have played out for the children of Israel if they had the same mindset as well. Like, who's to say God would have not sent the king along the way to rule over them, which I'm sure he would have in his perfect timing. But they were so blinded by their desires. They were so blinded by their wants. And even in scripture, in verse 20, where it says that we may also be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles. They wanted to be like all the other nations. So they were so blinded by their desires, by their wants, what they see going on around them in the world, that they completely dismissed the fact that God had already been their king. God has been reigning over them. He has delivered them. He's delivered them. He's protected them. He's provided for them. He has sent leaders to guide them, to shepherd them along the way. Moses, for start. Moses, he delivered the Israelites from under the oppression of Pharaoh. Joshua, who succeeded Moses, or who took over once Moses died. And they disrespected the heck out of Moses. Samuel, the priests that they've had along the way. So God has been with them. And they completely dismiss the fact that God has been. He reminds them, like, did you not forget? Hello, like, I've been here this whole time. What do you mean you need a king? But because they were just so blinded by their wants and their desires, they couldn't even see that they had a king this entire time. So my next point is going to be, how many times have we behaved like the children of Israel, and we've rejected God? So the sin that they committed was that they rejected God, and they replaced God in their hearts with another man that they hadn't even met at this point. Like, there was nothing that Samuel could have said to them and or warned them about that would have persuaded them. They already had it made up in their minds and in their hearts that they wanted a king. God wasn't good enough. And so after God continued to hear them cry out, begging and pleading for a king, God told Samuel, go ahead, give them what they're asking for. And in verse 22 it says, and the Lord said to Samuel, listen to their voice and make them a king. I want to point this out, and I'm going to do another message where I'm going to speak on this, but the Lord told Samuel to go and make them a king. So this entire time, Samuel has been judging them. He has been their judge, and he has been leading them and guiding them. And he was a great prophet as well. And the Lord tells him to go and make the king. So Samuel was a king maker. So here it is. They have this man who is a king maker, who has been judging over them and leading them and guiding them. And they're praying to God, asking for another king. So jump back to verse 7, when Samuel was offended because they came to Samuel and said, hey, we want someone else to rule over us. God said, Samuel, don't be offended, because they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting me. Because God sent Samuel, the king maker. So now I'm going to jump to chapter 9. And chapter 9 is introducing Saul. Saul is a Benjamite. He's the son of Abiel. And he's introduced as him and Saul and his servant, one of the servants. They leave out of the country to go and search for his father's lost donkeys. Now, as they're on this long journey, Saul, he becomes weary. He's just counting those donkeys as a lost cause. And he's getting ready to turn back and go back to his country. But his servant says, well, let's keep going because I heard that there is a seer, which is a prophet, and he is an honorable man, and he shall tell us where your father donkeys are. So I wanted to point this out, and this can be found in verse 6 of chapter 9. But I wanted to point that out because it once again, it is describing Samuel's characteristics. They're describing him as a honorable man. And there's other verses as well that I'm going to read that describe the characteristics of Samuel. But this was an honorable man. Samuel was very respected. And he was leading the children of Israel. And they were not satisfied with that. They still demanded a king. So I'm going to jump down to verse 13. And at this point, this is after Saul has came into the city, and now he's inquiring about the seer, which is Samuel. So it says, as soon as you become into the city. So he's inquiring, he's asking people in the city, and they're giving him directions where he can go and find Samuel. So it says, as soon as ye come into the city, you shall straightway find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. For the people will not eat until he comes, because he does bless the sacrifice. And afterwards they eat that be bidden. Now therefore go up, for about this time you shall find him. And so now I'm going to jump to verse 15, where it says, now the Lord had told Samuel in his ear a day before Saul came, saying, tomorrow about this time I will send a man out of the land of Benjamin, and thou shalt anoint him to be the captain over my people Israel, that he may save my people out of the hand of the Philistines. For I have looked upon my people, because their cry has come to me. And when Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said to him, behold, the man who I have spake of, this same shall reign over my people. So Samuel was expecting Saul. In verse 18 it says, then Saul drew near to Samuel in the gate and said, tell me, I pray thee, where the seer's house is. And Samuel answered Saul and said, I am the seer. Go up before me unto the high place, for ye shall eat with me today, and tomorrow I will let you go, and will tell you all that is in my heart. And for the donkeys that were lost 3 days ago, set not thy mind on them, for they are found. And on whom is all the desire of Israel? Is it not on thee and on all thy father's house? And Saul answered and said, am I not a Benjamite, of the smallest of the tribes of Israel, and my family the least of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin? Wherefore then speakest thou so to me? So Samuel was expecting Saul. Saul thought that he was on a journey to find his father's lost donkeys, but he don't know that he was on his way to his divine appointment. He was on his way to his divine appointment. I'm going to keep reading. Verse 22. And Samuel took Saul and his servant and brought them into the parlor and made them sit in the chiefest place among them that were already there, which were about 30 persons. And Samuel said unto the cook, bring the portion which I gave thee, of which I said unto thee, set it by thee. And the cook took up the shoulder and that which was upon it, and set it before Saul. And Samuel said, behold, that which is left, set it before thee, and eat. For unto this hath it been kept for thee, since I said, I have invited the people. So Saul did eat with Samuel that day. So Saul was in complete disbelief when Samuel shared with him that God had chose him to be king over Israel, over the children of Israel. The first thing Saul does is he brings up his background. He says that my family, I come from the tribe of Benjamin, which is the smallest tribe of Israel, and my family is the least families out of that tribe. So he immediately rejects what Samuel's saying, and he disqualifies himself. Like, he basically puts himself down. How many times have we done that? An opportunity comes our way. It may completely catch us off guard, because this caught Saul off guard. But he immediately rejected. He brought up his incapabilities. He brought up his background. He's like, I don't have, how many times have we done that? He'll say, oh, well, I don't come from a rich family. I don't have the education. I don't have the knowledge. I don't come from that city. How many times, like, just a lot of things that we come up with to disqualify ourselves from opportunities, especially when they catch us off guard. I don't know about you, but I know I have before. But yeah, so the first thing that Saul does is he starts to disqualify himself. But the thing about Saul is that in us, is oftentimes when we are being called to step in those kind of roles, we didn't choose it. God chose us. And he will send somebody, as God sent Samuel to seek out Saul. God will send somebody that will pull us, that will appoint us into those places, into those rooms, into those positions. It's not through our own strength. God chose Saul because he had a purpose. And we're going to talk about that purpose later on. But yeah, it doesn't matter what your background looks like. What you think if you have the abilities or incapabilities, it doesn't matter what you even think that you're able to do. Because if God chose you, if he said that you are the one for that job, if you are the one for that role, that's it. God said it, and that's it. It doesn't matter what you think or man thinks. I'm still in chapter 9, but I'm going to jump back to verse 13. Sorry about the lighting in here, guys. So this is after Saul entered into the city, and he's asking for directions to find Samuel. So it says, as soon as you come into this city, you shall straightway find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. For the people will not eat until he comes, because he blesses the sacrifice, and afterwards they eat what is left. So Samuel played a big part in this sacrificial ceremonial feast. So this is where all the leaders in the city, they come together for this big sacrificial feast. And Samuel is the one who blesses the sacrifice before, Samuel is the one who blesses the sacrifice up to God. And then they can eat whatever is left after they go through their sacrifice ritual. And so they're waiting on Samuel, but Samuel had received revelation from God the day before that he was going to come in contact with a man from the land of Benjamin, which is Saul, and that he was to anoint Saul to become the leader over the children of Israel. So Samuel, being an honorable man that he is, honorable man of God that he is, he's on his post because he received the command from God. So he's waiting. He can't leave his post until his assignment is complete of anointing Saul. So Samuel's waiting on Saul's arrival. And the feast, the ceremony, all the leaders at the ceremony, they're waiting on Samuel's arrival. So if you haven't caught on already, the table that God has prepared for you and the seat at that table that God has prepared for you, no one else can occupy that seat. No one else can take your seat at that table. And oftentimes we get so caught up in time frames, like where we feel like we should be in life. We feel like that we're behind. We're looking at, everything else that goes on around us. But this feast couldn't go on until Saul was in his rightful position. It was essentially they were waiting on Samuel, but Samuel was waiting on Saul's arrival. God orchestrated this whole situation. God orchestrated this whole situation. He made sure that Saul was going to be a part. My God, he made sure that Saul would be a part of this important feast. So the feast could not go on until Saul and Samuel took their rightful positions at the table. So there are people that God has spoke to concerning you. I like to look at this as like Samuel was a destiny helper. for Saul. Now, Saul didn't know that was his destiny. He thought he was just on a journey. He was just looking for his father's donkeys, lost donkeys. But he really stepped into destiny and didn't even know it. He was on his way to destiny. There are people that God has spoken to concerning you that are literally going to usher you into your destiny. And like this opportunity for Saul, it caught him off guard. But Samuel couldn't leave his post. He knew that he was the most important piece of that feast. Nobody could eat. That's an important part. You can't even eat until this man show up. Like, people are hungry. Like, he had an important role in that feast. But he couldn't leave until Saul had arrived. There are people that God will speak to you that they cannot move on until, they cannot move on until their assignment is complete concerning you. You don't have to worry about being late. You don't have to worry about feeling like that you're behind or you late or you're going to miss your blessing or somebody's going to take your seat. It's not. If God chose you, if that's your seat, if God has chosen you and he assigned you a seat at that table, that is your spot. And I'm going to jump down to verse 22 where it says, and Samuel took Saul and his servant and brought them into the parlor and made them sit in the chiefest place among them that were there, which were about 30 persons. So first, it says Samuel took Saul and his servant into the palace, even after Saul was in disbelief and he disqualified himself. He really rejected what Samuel was saying. He still took him and his servant into the palace, and he gave them the chiefest place amongst the table, among 30 other leaders, officials that were there. So can you imagine the looks that Saul and his servants got when, Samuel brought them into the room and they're sitting at the top of the table? It says they had the chiefest seats. The chiefest place amongst the table. They weren't way in the back where nobody could hear them, nobody could see them. No, they were up in the front. I can imagine the looks that Saul and his servants were getting when Samuel brings them into this feast. Number one, they're probably looking like, Samuel, where have you been? We've been waiting on you. And then you come in with two other people that we don't know. Like, who are these guys? Not only are you late, but you showed up with extra gas and you sitting them up in the front. Like, who are these people? So I can imagine the looks that Saul and his servant were getting. And can we talk about his servant? We don't even know his servant name. But his servant ain't got nothing to do with nothing. But since he was there to assist Saul. He was assisting Saul originally to help him find the donkeys, his father's donkeys. But if it wasn't for the servant encouraging Saul to keep going on their journey and not turning back, and him bringing up the fact that there was a prophet, which is Samuel, that could help them, he probably would not have, had the servant not been there, Saul probably would have missed out on this destiny moment. So the servant, who doesn't even have a name, he's getting royal treatment. Just from being associated with Saul. And I'm gonna jump down to verse 23. And it says, and Samuel said unto the cook, bring the portion which I gave thee, of which I said to you, set it by thee. And the cook took up the shoulder, and that which was upon it, and set it before Saul. The cook took up the shoulder. So the shoulder of the animal, that's like the best portion, like the best meat portion. And he gave it unto Saul. He served it on a beautiful platter. But it says that Samuel said to the cook, remember that portion that I told you to set aside, that I told you to reserve? I want you to bring that out for him and his servant. Well, I want you to bring that out for Saul. So Samuel knew of Saul's arrival, but he had the best reserved for him. He brought, oh God, upon his arrival, he brought Saul and his servant into the palace, to the high place for this feast, gave him a seat at the front of the table amongst all these other leaders and officials that were there. They probably were looking at him all crazy. And then he hands him the best portion of the feast on a silver platter. He's just getting all this royal treatment. And it says that Saul ate the food and said that it was a great day. I'm going to jump to chapter 10. So at this point, this is the day after the feast, and Samuel is sending Saul and his servant back to the land of Benjamin. And so before he sends them off, Samuel tells Saul, like, go ahead and send your servant to go before you, ahead of you. I need to talk to you. I got to tell you what God has spoke to me concerning you. So Saul sends his servant ahead of him. This is just reminding me that everything that God has to you, whatever God speaks to you, it's not always meant for everybody else to hear. Some things are just between you and God. Everybody don't need to know what God has spoke to you, what God is getting ready to do in your life. Sometimes it's not for everybody to know. Okay? So at this point, Samuel was getting ready to anoint Saul. And Saul is still in disbelief. Samuel knows that Saul is in disbelief. Samuel knows that Saul is still in disbelief. So he prophesies to Saul. Samuel tells him what he's getting ready to encounter, or what he's going to see on his way back to the land of Benjamin. So I'm going to start at verse 2. And it says, when thou art depart from me today, you shall find 2 men by Rachel's sepulchre in the border of Benjamin at Zelzah. And they will say to you, the donkeys which you have went to seek are found, and your father has left the care of them, and he sorrows for you, saying, what shall I do for my son? Then you shall go forward from thence, and you shall come to the plain of Tabor, and there you shall meet 3 men going up to God to Bethel, one carrying 3 kids, and another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a bottle of wine. And they will salute you and give you 2 loaves of bread, and you shall receive it from their hands. After that, you shall come to a hill of God, where is the garrison of the Philistines, and it shall come to pass, when thou art come thither to the city, that thou shalt meet a company of prophets coming down from the high place with the psaltery and a tabret and a pipe and a harp before them, and they shall prophesy. And the Spirit of the Lord will come upon you, and you shall prophesy with them, and shall be turned unto another man. And let it be known that when these signs have come to pass, that you should, that thou do as, and thou shalt go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I will come down unto thee to offer burnt offerings, and to sacrifice sacrifices of peace offerings. 7 days shall you tarry till I come to thee and show you what you shall do. And it was so that when he had turned his back to go from Samuel, God gave him another heart, and all those signs came to pass that day. Not tomorrow. Not tomorrow, not the next day. All those signs came to pass that day. I love the fact that it says, I want to point out the fact that it says that just as soon as Saul turned away from Samuel, departed ways, God changed his heart. Samuel prophesied to Saul that he would become a new man once he met the prophets that would come down from the high place. But God changed. He turned into a new man from the time he departed from Samuel, when God turned his heart, when God changed his heart. Have you ever experienced a moment where God just suddenly changes your heart? I know I have. And I remember in that moment, before, I was saying like, oh, I would never, oh, I would never do this, or I would never. And God turned my heart in an instance. And God is just so sovereign. Like, God is sovereign. And I love it. It just amazes me the way that he does things to just show us like who he is. Like, I am God. If I say something, that's what it's gonna be. Picking back up from verse 10, it says, and they came thither to the hill, and behold, a company of prophets met him, and the Spirit of God came upon him, and he prophesied among them. And it came to pass, when all that knew Saul before time saw him, and behold, they said, they saw him prophesy among the prophets, and the people said to one another, what is this that came unto the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets? So you don't have to be worried about. Saul was when this was first revealed to him by Samuel that he was going to be the king over the people of Israel, he automatically disqualified himself, that he was incapable. He didn't have the capabilities to step into that role. Right? And like I said, we often think about our background, our experience, our education, but God will give you, if God has called you to an assignment, he will give you everything that you need to fulfill that assignment, to complete that assignment. Where it says the Spirit of God came upon him. God gave him the ability to prophesy. He didn't come from a family of prophets. It doesn't say that Saul was a prophet, but God gave him the ability to prophesy. God will equip you with whatever it is that you need for your assignment. And it says that the people that knew him before questioned and said, what is this? Is Saul now a prophet? So the people that thought they knew you before time, when they see this new you, like it says that you will be it says that Saul will become a new person when God creates a new in you. Because we are all made new creatures through Christ. So when God creates that new in you, everybody that thought they knew you before, baby, tell them, say, you don't know me now. This is a new me. You knew the old me. This is the new me. I'm jumping down to verse 14. It says, and Saul's uncle, I'm going to start at verse 13. And when he had made an end of prophesying, he came to the high place. He made it back to his land, to the land of Benjamin. And Saul's uncle said unto him and his servant, where did you go? And he said, to seek the donkeys. And when we saw that they were nowhere to be found, we came to Samuel. And Saul's uncle said, tell me, I pray thee, what Samuel said unto thee. So the uncle, he heard that he had came into contact with Samuel. As I said, Samuel was very known. He was a well-known and respected prophet. So his uncle's like, oh, well, tell me, what did he say? And Saul says, what he told me about the donkeys, he said that they had been found. But the matter of the kingdom that was going to be Saul's kingdom, he did not speak of. So once again, everything that God speaks to you that he's going to do in your life, or what he's doing in your life, is not meant for everybody. Some things are meant to be left between you and God, are meant to be left unsaid. Now Samuel is getting ready to appoint Saul as the prince of the children of Israel. And so starting at verse 18, it says, thus said the Lord God of Israel, I brought up Israel out of Egypt and delivered you into the hand of the Egyptians and out of the hand of all kingdoms and of them that oppressed you. And you have this very day rejected your God, who himself saved you out of your all of your adversities and your tribulations. And you have said unto him, no, but set a king over us. Now therefore present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and by your thousands. So Samuel calls, so again, this is this is another warning. God has given them another warning. Like, hey, you all have still moving forward with asking me for this king. Like, you are sinning. You're about to commit a sin. And so now Samuel is calling up all the tribes of Israel. Now, at this point, they already know who God's choice is, but they're still going through the process. So Samuel has called out all the tribes of Israel, and then he calls out the tribe of Benjamin, and then he calls out the family of the Matri, which is Saul's family out of the tribe of Benjamin. Verse 21, it says, when he had caused the tribe of Benjamin to come near by the families, the family of Matri was taken, and Saul, the son of Kish, was taken. And when they sought him, they could not find him. Therefore they inquired of the Lord further, if the man should come thither. They saying, Lord, is this still the chosen one? Is this still who you have chosen? And the Lord answered and said, behold, he has hid himself among the stuff. And they ran and fetched him. And when he stood among the people, he was higher than any of the people from his shoulders and upward. So here it is, the day that he is going to be appointed king. And Saul is very aware that it's the day that he's going to be appointed, right? He had been talking to Samuel. Samuel has instructed him what's going to happen. And here it is, they're looking for him, and he's nowhere to be found. It says that he was he has hid himself amongst the stuff. Saul is somewhere distracted. Saul is somewhere distracted and being distracted by his baggage. And that's actually what one of the translations say for the scripture. He's somewhere hidden among his baggage, amongst his stuff. He's distracted. He's not prepared. Now, when Samuel sent Saul off to go back to his land before this day, that was his time to go and prepare, where he should have been cleaning house. He should have been getting rid of all that baggage and all the extra stuff so he can get ready to step into this position. Like, this is an important role that you getting ready to step into. Why are you not prepared for this? So that's also, it's like an indication, like you never know, although this opportunity did catch him off guard, but God, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, right? But this was another red flag. So this whole ceremony started off with God reiterating to the children of Israel, like, you are getting ready to sin against me. Now here it is, this king that they have asked for, that they have prayed to God for, that's getting ready to be appointed. They can't even find him when it's time for him to be appointed. They had to go and get him. They had to go and pull him, drag him up. They had to go and pull him and drag him to this appointment. Nevertheless, they still went forward with making him or choosing him to be king over them, to be their ruler. In verse 26, it says, and Saul also went home to Gibeah. So this is after he was appointed the leader. Samuel had written all the rules and regulations about how they would conduct themselves as a kingdom. And so 26, it says, and Saul went home to Gibeah, and there went with him a band of men whose heart God had touched. So God touched the heart of men that would serve Saul. But the children of Belial said, how shall this man save us? And they despised him and brought him no presents, but he held his peace. So I don't know whether in verse 27 where it says the children of Belial, they despised him. I don't know if maybe they were the only ones who had some sense to see what was going on with, King Saul. With King Saul, like, hey, like, we couldn't even find him when it was time for him to be appointed. Like, I don't know if either they're the only ones that have some sense in this whole congregation, or if they're just being some haters, right? But it says that Saul paid them no attention. And as I said before, it doesn't really matter who thinks that you are deserving of a role, position, a seat, whatever it may be. As it says, Saul paid them no attention. Continue to go on about your business. God already approved of you. It doesn't matter who doesn't disapprove, because God approved you. But as I said, I don't know if they were just being some haters or if they're the only ones that really had sense in this matter, but I digress. And now I'm in verse 12. Chapter 12, I'm sorry. And so this is Samuel now. He is very up in age now. And so he's talking to the children of Israel and he's testifying his integrity. He's confirming his integrity that he has had over the years of leading them. And I'm going to just start at verse 3, where it says, Behold, here I am, witnessed against me before the Lord and before his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Or whose donkeys have I taken? Or whom have I defrauded? Whom have I oppressed? Or of whose hand have I received any bribe to blind my eyes therewith? And I will restore it to you. And they said, You have not defrauded us, nor oppressed us, neither have you taken aught of any man's hand. So they witness, they're confirming, that Samuel was a honorable, trustworthy man of God. And so he continues to go. I'm not going to read all of this, but verses 6 through 11, 6 through 11, he's just speaking to them about all of the it's okay. Well, it says that Samuel reproves the people for their ingratitude. So he's bringing up all of the accounts that the Lord has showed up for them, how he has delivered them. And basically he's pointing out that these are all the times that God have delivered you and you have been ungrateful for all the times that God has showed up for you. Because now you are saying that you want a king to reign over you, but God has been your king the whole time. Verse 13, Now therefore behold the king whom ye have chosen and who you have desired, and behold the Lord has set a king over you. If you will fear the Lord and serve him and obey his voice and not rebel against the commandment of the Lord, then both you and also the king that reigns over you continue following the Lord God. But if you will not obey the voice of the Lord, but rebel against the commandment of the Lord, then shall the hand of the Lord be against you as it was against your father. So Samuel is warning them again, of the sin that they committed. And he's like, well, if you've already committed this sin, and God already knows the heart of Saul. God already knows the heart of Saul. The Israelites, the children of Israel, they already have a track record of being disobedient and turning away from God. So he's like, Samuel is warning them like, hey, if you follow God's commandments, then you don't have anything to worry about. But if you're going to obey him, disobey him, then the hand of God is going to be upon you again. And as God warned them the first time, I'm not coming to save you this time. So God was confirming Samuel was confirming his integrity that he had with God. He was confirming his integrity that, he hasn't led them astray. He's followed God's commandments as he was leading them. And to show that God really was with him. And so the way that he shows them that, hey, God really was with me this whole time that I was leading y'all, I'm going to show you. So he says, he's going to call down rain and thunder in the middle of the summer. It's a hot summer day. And he says, verse 17, it says, Is it not a wheat harvest today? I will call unto the Lord, and he shall send thunder and rain, that ye may perceive and see that your wickedness is great, which you have done in the sight of the Lord, and asking you for a king. So Samuel called unto the Lord, and the Lord sent thunder and rain that day. And all the people greatly feared the Lord and Samuel. So Samuel had to show them, like, I'm not just telling you that you've committed a sin. I'm going to show you. And to prove it, I'm going to call down rain and thunder. And if this rain and thunder comes down because I'm calling down because of your sin, you shall know that you have committed a sin. I'm not just saying it. And so now that Samuel, that he did that act, now the eyes of the children of Israel have been opened, like, oh my goodness. Now they fear him. They fear God, and then they fear Samuel. And now their eyes have been opened. Like, I'm going to continue on from verse 20. And it says, And Samuel said unto the people, Fear not, you have done all this wickedness, yet turn not aside from following the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. And turn ye not aside, for then should you go after vain things, which cannot profit nor deliver, for they are vain. For the Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake, because it hath pleased the Lord to make you his people. Moreover, as for me, God forbid that I should sin against the Lord in ceasing to pray for you. But I will teach you the good and right way. That is good. So Samuel is saying that I'm not going to, even though you have chosen to even though you have sinned against God, you've asked God for a king, although he's been your king this entire time, I'm not going to sin. Even in their disobedience, even though they rejected Samuel, Samuel said, I'm not going to sin. I'm still going to intercede, and I'm going to pray on your behalf for the sins that you have committed. That is a good leader right there. Like that is a good leader. And I didn't pay attention to this the first time. I'm going to keep reading. Verse 24. Only fear the Lord and serve him in truth with all your heart. For consider how great things he has done for you. But if you shall still do wickedly, you shall be consumed, both ye and your king. So after the Israelites finally opened up their eyes to what Samuel and God had been saying to them time and time again, they became fearful. But Samuel said, you know what, don't worry. Like, you've done wickedness. But if you, after you know what you know now, if you continue to fear the Lord and serve the Lord, love the Lord with your whole heart, and don't turn aside and, go after wicked things and vain things, you will be okay. He said, and even though you have rejected me, I'm still going to pray for you. I'm going to intercede for you. Because that is his job. That was his job as a leader. And he said, I'm not going to sin. I'm not going to abandon my assignment because y'all choose to, be disobedient. Oh my goodness, that is good. But so this reminded me to that it's important for us to do a heart check. Meaning, like, check your heart posture. Oftentimes we want things, we desire things, and God, he will answer our prayers. But a lot of times, and I can't think of the scripture right now, but it says you have not because you ask not. And when you do ask, you ask from a place of selfishness or out of lust or selfish motives. And that's why I say, like, it's important to do a heart check. Like, why are you asking for those things? I've gotten to a place where, we should get to a place where we ask God to allow our heart desires to align with his will for our life. And the more that you accept Jesus into your heart, into your life, your desires and wants, they will begin to change. They will start to align with God, with his will for your life. Like, you won't even have to, you have to open your heart up, but they will just naturally just start to align with what God wants for you. And I'm just going to throw some random examples out there. So say you want a higher paying job, right? It's like a significant pay increase. And originally you want the job because you just want more money. You want to be able to do things for yourself, for your family, your children, your spouse that you've never been able to do before. You want nicer things. You want to start taking trips. You want a new wardrobe, whatever that may be. Right? But as you allow Jesus into your heart, into your life, that desire for wanting a higher paying job may change. You may want a higher paying job so that you can help people more. You'll be able to help people more, being able to create wealth. Like, you're going to want to manage your wealth differently, if that makes any sense. Say you want a relationship. And it could be you wanted a relationship because you're trying to fill a void, because you're lonely. Like, just vain things. And when you allow Jesus into your life, into your heart, your desire for a relationship is completely different. You want to serve God in your relationship. You want to serve God with your partner, whoever God puts you with. You want to, yeah, you want to serve God with your relationship. So I'm just naming some things. Like, as you allow God into your life, your desires literally will just align with what he wants for you. Some may change. You may not even want the same things at all. Your appetite may change, or you may still have the same wants, but it would be for a different reason. So I think it's important that we are checking our hearts, doing heart checks daily. And essentially that's what Samuel was telling the children of Israel here, that, it's okay that you didn't know that you were sinning against God, but now that you know better, do better. Essentially is what Samuel was saying. That's in modern day terms. So Saul was trying to explain himself that he took matters into his own hand because Samuel didn't show up on time, but he did. He showed up. He's there. He showed up right as you got finished doing what you were, taking matters into your own hand. And that is just like a perfect example of how we think sometimes. I know I think this way. Gosh, he don't show up when we want him to, but he shows up right on time. And I mean in the nick of time. I can relate to Saul. There's times where I'm like, God, I know he gave me a specific instruction. And I'm like, okay, God, like, where you at? You said that you was gonna, you were gonna be here by now, and we take things into our own hands, take matters into our own hands. But what happened with Saul, Samuel told him, it's like, what you have done was foolish of you. If you would have kept your appointment and your commandment by God, God would have set a firm and lasting foundation under your kingly rule. But because you failed to follow his commandments, your kingdom is falling apart already. You've only been king for 2 years and you already messing up. Like your kingly rule has already fallen into pieces. And he said, God is already looking for your replacement right now as we speak. Like he didn't get any chances. He didn't get any chances. And this is just the beginning, because God already warned the children of Israel what was going to happen, what was going to be the manner of this king. And there are so many other accounts. I'm not going to go too far into this. I'm going to actually stop right here. But there are so many other accounts where we see where Saul has just brought so much affliction upon the children of Israel because he was taking matters into his own hands. He thought that he could do it better. He was making a lot of unadvised decisions. Like that wasn't really his role, but because the children of Israel were crying out and begged and pleaded with God for him, God gave them what they were asking for. They should have been more specific with that prayer, right? So I'm going to stop right here. But in all this, if you're familiar with the story of Saul, as it says that God was seeking a replacement for Saul at that very moment. Saul reigned over Israel for 40 years before David took his rightful position. But when David did become the king over the children of Israel, he restored. David brought restoration to Israel, to the children of Israel. David wasn't a perfect king. He wasn't a perfect king, but when he realized he made mistakes, he owned up to it and he humbled himself before the Lord. And most importantly, he was a man that was after God's heart. That is why God chose him in the first place. So I'm going to end this message right here. And if you stuck around until the end of this message, I hope that it blessed you. And yes, I will see you guys next time. Have a blessed day.